Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our inaugural edition of the Sports Exchange on the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network. This network will give us the opportunity to provide expansive sports coverage by allowing us to add additional shows, and they'll come of all sizes. They can be 15, 30 minutes, an hour, or even two, like we have tonight. And kicking off this broadcast is a guy that I view as a good partner of mine. His name is Ryan Skolrud. And Ryan, you are the first one here on the new Sports Exchange, and welcome to the big show, buddy.
Thank you, Scott. As always, it is a pleasure to be able to speak with you, to talk some sports, especially a little bit of football, and really looking forward to this new little venture.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I know I enjoy having you on with our show on Wednesday night with the fantasy football. But this is going to be pretty neat because now we have an opportunity to go ahead and impact a lot of people by being able to maintain what we call a radio format, which we obviously are going to continue to do, and, you know, be able to have a lot more versatility in the coverage. And I think the idea is the more episodes we have on, it allows us to cover more sports and just be a lot more thorough with it and make sure that, hey, when we're ready to put something up there on social media, we share it. And it opens up the guest pool and the opportunities for the individuals that are going to be getting involved. So with that said, Thursday night football here tonight has the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers. The Eagles are 1-2. They're coming off a loss to the Detroit Lions, while the Green Bay Packers may have the ugliest 3-0 record. But you know what? 3-0 is pretty good. So what are your thoughts about tonight's contest?
Well, I think tonight, coming from a fantasy point of view, I think that this is finally the night where Aaron Rodgers becomes the quarterback, or acts as a quarterback one like we've all expected him to so far this season. I know it's been a sort of a rocky changeover with Matt LaFleur as the new coach. Davante Adams only getting, 4 targets last week. And everyone expected him to be the number one wide receiver in fantasy. And so I think that tonight, the passing game finally really gets going. They're going up against Philadelphia, who I want to say is either number 5 or number 7 in terms of giving up points to the wide receiver position. They're struggling. I believe Ronald Darby is actually out tonight. I have to check that again, but I believe Darby is out. So I think that Davante Adams is going to be catching a ton of balls tonight, all over the field, and should put up a big game. I really think that playing at home, the Packers, and with how good their defense has been, I think they'll come away with the win.
Okay, very good. So you want to go as far as predicting a score for this one?
Scores are always a little relative. I'll go 24-17 Packers.
Okay, that's not bad, especially considering the fact that Aaron Rodgers, to me, who's on my fantasy team with the family, I wanted to go with Jared Goff this weekend, but my gut feeling is that at some point the Packers got to wake up and know better thing to do that than at home at Lambeau Field, which I consider a shrine and a must-do for anybody on the bucket list. I can thankfully say I've been to that place a few times, and I've enjoyed every memory of it. So I don't know. Since I'm putting you on the hook for scores, I guess I'll say that the Packers are going to win 27-17 and try to go ahead and give them the benefit of the doubt with their defense. So, again, that's a defense run by Mike Pettit. So, Pettin. All right, with that said, we have another interesting matchup over the weekend. The Buffalo Bills are hosting the New England Patriots. Josh Allen leading the Bills, and they are 3-0 against Tom Brady, who's also 3-0. So, is Josh Allen for real, Ryan Skolrud?
In terms of fantasy production, yes. Whether or not he's the kind of guy who can really get a team going and win games that they're not supposed to, I don't know. If you look at their 3 wins so far are against an Eli Manning-led Giants team, a New York Jets team and the Cincinnati Bengals, who have not been anywhere close to what everyone was hoping they would be. So you have to take their 3-0 start with a little grain of salt. Now, their defense has been very, very solid, and I think that they could cause some issues for the Patriots going into this game. I still think the Patriots come out on top. It may be a little bit lower scoring game than we're used to, though.
So what I've got to do my due diligence is I'm going to have to ask you for scores for all four
All right,
games.
so for this one, I'm probably going to go New England wins this one probably 17-10.
Really? You think it's going to be that?
Maybe even no, we'll go 17-14.
Wow, you really see it as a low-scoring contest, really?
Both defenses have been extremely good this year. So yes, I think that Josh Allen throws for a touchdown and runs for a touchdown, and I think that we'll see if the Patriots can get the run game going.
If the game was in New England, I would give it a 31-17 score. But
I would maybe have it that close.
Oh, would you? Okay, no problem. But because of the fact it's in Buffalo, then I guess I would probably be inclined to go probably 17-10 like you. I think that's a pretty good score in favor of the Patriots. So what kind of a game do you think that Josh Gordon's going to have?
Josh Gordon, now that we have cleared everything out and there is no Antonio Brown, I think that Josh Gordon is still going to be kind of a boomer bust type of player. I think that he's going to average out to being about a top 20 wide receiver, probably in that 18 to 22 range by the end of the season. However, it's going to be back and forth. So this week, while I think he can put up numbers, I'm not seeing a ton of production, to be completely honest. I think in this game, he probably finishes with 3 or 4 catches for about 60 yards. I mean, if he gets into the end zone, great. That's always a bonus. But touchdowns just in general are hard to predict anyways.
All right, well then with that said, let me go ahead and lead where we're going to go. You got Sony Michel and James White in the backfield. Do you see that Tom Brady's going to be throwing more to his backs?
Possibly. I think that Sony Michel has not really been all that involved in the offense. You look at last week, he had it was either 8 carries for 7 yards and a touchdown or 7 carries for 6 yards and a touchdown. And again, he was expected to get a whole lot of work. I think that James White will probably get a lot of work, especially considering they don't really have a tight end in New England right now that's worth involving in the offense other than blocking. So because of that, James White is going to be the one who's going to shoulder a lot of that burden. I think that Brady could work a lot to Edelman and to James White to be his receivers in this game with how good the defense is for Buffalo.
Okay, we got 2 more games that we're going to go over to your fantasy notes. Okay, we got the Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens. The Browns were obviously going into the season as a team that could very well win that division. Unfortunately, I personally think they're overhyped. And I have a feeling that if Freddie Kitchens doesn't take this team to where they think they should take it, that he's a one and done. He'll get fired at the end of the year. And that's my gut feeling. But nevertheless, you have a matchup with 2 teams that don't like each other. You got Baker Mayfield against Lamar Jackson. The Browns go in 1-2. The Baltimore Ravens 2-1. What do you expect out of this contest?
I really think that Baltimore kind of for the most part, runs over Cleveland in this one. Cleveland just has not been able to get their offense going or to really be able to jive at all. Kitchens. Here's the mystery with Kitchens that I just have not been able to understand. When he became the temporary or the kind of the interim offensive coordinator last year, he was promoted from being the running backs coach. And last year they did everything they could to really get Nick Chubb involved, to run him like crazy. He was getting, close to 20 carries a game. He was the top in the league in terms of yards after contact. And yet this year, he's not even hardly in the game plan to begin the game. He's sort of like we should probably run the ball with Nick Chubb as well. Instead, they're trying to do everything through Baker Mayfield. And Baker seems to have more success with a run game that's actually going and working. That's when he's had his best games, is when it's not all focused on the pass game. And the defense has to think about blocking up the run and not just sitting back and saying, okay, well, they're just going to pass it again with Baker Mayfield. We don't have to worry about the run.
Yeah, I've often wondered, Ryan, myself, how a position coach could actually become a head coach. Let me give you a good example of that, okay? Rod Marinelli got hired by the Detroit Lions from Tampa Bay, and we all know that was a first-class disaster. Don't need to get into the 0-16 season that Marinelli had, because although you were talking about a team that also had an 0-16 team as well, so the Lions are in the 0-16 club, I personally don't think that position coaches inside of a short period of time belong as head coaches. It's a difference between managing much less amount of people versus it is an entire football team and having to make personnel decisions about who it is. So I actually will predict the Baltimore Ravens to roll over the Browns 33-7. So Lamar Jackson could have a field day both on the ground and as well as in the air. And I know that Lamar Jackson does not want to be a running back or run any more than he has to, but the kid's smart enough that he can do both. One more game before we go to your notes, okay? Because you have some good ones. Seattle at Arizona, a team you're all too familiar with. Russell Wilson against Kyler Murray. Two guys that are very mobile quarterbacks. I think Kyler Murray has a lot of potential. I don't know if that offense is going to have a lot of potential. At some point they'll catch on to it, and we don't have to talk about what Wilson's accomplished because we already know what he did. So what are your observations on that game?
This game, one of my favorite players for this game is Will Dissly. Everyone talks about the fact that he's had a pretty good couple years or a good couple games so far this year. And, some people may call it recency bias, which is a big thing in fantasy football, saying, hey, this guy's had 2 great weeks. He should keep that up and keep it going. And recency bias can be very, very dangerous. It can make you chase points. It can make you go after waiver wire pickups that have no business being picked up. That being said, Will Dissly has the 3rd most targets on the Seahawks behind DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, who Tyler Lockett, after having only 2 targets in the first game, has had 11 and 14 targets in the last 2. Will Dissly, again, 3rd on the team in targets. Their quote-unquote receiving tight end that the Seahawks have, they just traded to Pittsburgh. They brought back in Luke Wilson, who was an okay receiving tight end, but his strength and what he is best at is being a blocker, not only in line on the offensive line, but also out of the backfield as a fullback type. So Will Dissly now becomes the number 3 receiver who is used a lot in the red zone, and he's facing an Arizona Cardinals team who is not just the worst team defense in fantasy against the tight ends, but they are exponentially worse than everyone. They average giving up 21.5 points per game just to the tight end position, where I want to say the second place team is averaging 14 points per game to the tight end position. So this game, I think that Seattle wins. It's going to be I think it's going to be an offensive explosion.
Okay.
Not just for Seattle, but I think because and part of that's because of how bad the Cardinals defense is. They're still missing, I want to say, Patrick Peterson because of his suspension. So, but if the Seahawks get up and go into prevent mode, that's going to allow a lot of opportunity for Kyler Murray to at least put up yards and possibly a couple scores as well.
So what kind of a score are you looking at, Ryan?